Yeah.
do you feel like the team just learned about itself?
Well, I think the main thing we learned is we can compete, with the best in this conference. Playing on the road against a team that was 6-1 and as hot as any team in the country, and to go in there and limit them to 65 points in regulation and really play great basketball. I thought we played an outstanding game on Sunday. We just didn't finish the deal, and I think that's the thing we're talking about now is continuing to learn how to close games. We've played 7 really close games out of our, five out of our 7 games. Obviously, we did not have it wasn't close to Purdue, and Michigan State really wasn't a game. But the other 5 games were all overtime, last possession, 1-possession games, and we're 2-3. In those games, and I talk about it all the time. Like, if you want to have the kind of season that you aspire to have, you have to win more than you lose in those situations. So we have to keep putting ourselves in that spot. You got to move on. I tell the guys all the time in this league, whether you win at the buzzer like we did in the fashion and Nick hitting the shot, or you lose the way we did on Sunday, you got to come back the next day and you got to get ready for another high-level game, and that's what we're going to have with Indiana on Wednesday. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of that's where you really lean on your, we call it our sports performance team, and I feel we have as good a team as there is out there. Starts with your trainer, Jeff Tanaka, was a trainer for the San Francisco 49ers, longtime trainer of the Bulls. I mean, he, when you have to manage an NFL season and an 82-game schedule with back-to-backs, a guy knows what it takes in terms of recovery. Our strength and conditioning coach, Brendan Ziegler, is unbelievable, has an amazing amount of experience, and I really lean on those 2 guys. Our nutrition, that pays into it, sleep. So, I mean, those are all things we talk about when you're in between games, because you see, I mean, these Big Ten games, they're high level. They're like heavyweight title fights every night. I mean, there's literally, I know everyone says it, and it's like I'm like, tell me a bad team in this league. I mean, there's not. You have to be ready to play at a really high level, and everyone's going to play hard. So it's not just about playing hard. You got to execute on both ends if you want to try to win.
Coach, the last 2 games we haven't seen Justin Mullins at all. Is there
Yeah.
a concern there? Is he banged up at all?
No, you know what? And I talked to Justin about this yesterday. We had lost 3 in a row, and I kind of made the decision to bring Ty off the bench and start Angelo, just to give a little bit of a veteran coming off the bench, a little bit of a reset for Ty. And then when you do that, it's hard because Brooks and Nick are going to play a lot. So Justin just has to stay ready. We had 3 games where we lost, so I just wanted to shake things up a little bit and try some different rotations, and then we won. So we kind of did that again. But it's a long season, and Justin's done a great job for us. And I've told all these guys they need to stay ready. You have to be ready when your number's called.
When you go back and look at some of the film with Angelo, when you see him kind of get his first career starts, what have you seen out of him? What do you think he's going to?
Well, he's a young player that's learning, so, I mean, for him, he's still kind of getting his feet wet, when to be aggressive, when to attack. Like, the one thing I want, he's got a pop to him when he plays. You guys know he's an outstanding athlete. He can run the floor. He's activity guy, cutting on the boards. I didn't think he did that on the road as well as he did in his first start in the Maryland game. And as he's learning and as you're figuring things out, what can you build as a foundation? And, his needs to be energy. It needs to be activity. It needs to be obviously defense and cutting off our main guys and being opportunistic and still being aggressive. I mean, he's shown he had 19 points in that Purdue game. He's scored in limited minutes and didn't play his best on Sunday, but sometimes that's part of being a freshman in this league.
Going back to kind of the team in the Big Ten is a good team, but you've had success against Indiana. What stands out about them?
Well, they're very talented. Obviously they went out and added a number of players. This year's roster. Ballo inside is a tremendous big. He creates a lot of attention. Malik Renault, who's missed the last few games, we expect him to be back. Those 2 guys as a 1-2 punch inside. Their physicality, their ability to score inside is huge. Rice coming in as a point guard has done a really good job for him, playing in pick and rolls, getting downhill. Luke Goody is coming off his best game as a Hoosier, 20-something points. He's given him shooting. Now when you have him and Mbako in the game, now you have 2 really elite shooters on the wings. We know what Galloway's capable of doing. So this is a very talented team. They're coming off a huge win. They just won at Ohio State, which showed a lot about their team, and they've had 5 or 6 days off. So they're going to be rested and ready, and we know it's going to be a really tough test.
Coach, I know after the Michigan State game, you talked about needing to have better starts. I think on Sunday you held them to less than 30% from the field in the
Yeah.
first half. What do you credit that success to?
I just think our guys are doing a better job in preparation and focus. We've talked about that. We've really challenged our guys with scouting, with preparation for these games. You know, the details matter, and I didn't feel we were doing that at a high level in those games that we struggled. And I feel like in the last 2 games we've kind of gotten back to that model that's been really good for us. And, you know, if you would have said to me in that game, you know, Michigan was averaging almost 90 a game. You know, if you would have said to me, hey, you're going to hold them to 65, they're going to go 7 for 27 from 3, Danny Wolf isn't going to have a goose egg. Like, you know, like I would have felt really good. I mean, that's a really good defensive performance. We couldn't get the buckets at the end of the game. We had 3 or 4 possessions. Ty had a couple open threes. We missed 5 free throws, you know, during that stretch. And if you want to beat a good team on the road, you got to make those plays in the last couple of minutes to close the deal.
You mentioned you shut out Danny Wolf on Sunday. How would you evaluate your forward play, and how have Keenan and Blake stepped up in Luke's absence?
Yeah, I mean, I've really been pleased with Keenan's energy. You know, he's coming in. He's a high-spirited guy, and his size has helped. You know, you guys have seen. I think he had 2 or 3 blocks the other night. He's protecting our rim. He's making guys miss at our rim. He runs the floor. He's doing a good job defensively. You know, I think the more he plays a little bit, there's an added offensive element. Hopefully, we can get from him. And then Blake Smith, we kind of know what Blake is. You know, Blake is a high-energy guy who's a tremendous defensive player. You know, and the other night, kind of when it got to that area and we didn't have Jalen on the floor, I turned to him because I felt our freshman, it was a big moment for them, and I wanted a veteran guy you could lean on. I thought he did a really good job coming in and helping us get some stops and playing his role, which and that's what I talked about. I mean, Blake didn't play for a long time. You know, there's a lot of games he didn't get in, and I talk with our guys, just stay ready. You know, I want everybody to help. I want to, you know, and put me in a position to make those tough decisions in games to put guys on the floor. Oh, Barkley. I thought you said Blake Smith. Barkley, yeah. I mean, he's done a good job as well. I mean, he had to come in and sometimes play a little bit out of position. You know, he's a natural forward, but because of having Luke out, you know, we had both Keenan and Matt in foul trouble the last 2 games, and he had to come in Maryland and give us a couple minutes. He gave us a couple minutes at the end of the half, and again, just being ready when called upon was proud of him for that.
Jalen really comfortable in pick and roll, facilitating and getting to pull up mid ranges.
Yeah.
What do you credit his ability to be so successful?
Yeah, I just think he's worked at it. You know, he's learning, he's playing. It's the first time really in his career he's kind of been the main kind of playmaker or ball handler. You know, he's always been like a combo guard, you know, at Fairfield, where he could bring it up, but he could also play off the ball. So for him, the first, you know, 10 to 12 games kind of being a learning curve. And then you didn't have Brooks, you know, the first 4 because of his injury. So just feel like he's learning this level. You know, the physicality, how to pick and choose your spots. He's making good decisions. Just fell for him because I thought, I mean, that was his best game at Northwestern. I mean, he was carrying us. I mean, he really had it rolling. I think he had 19 in the first, you know, 30 minutes of the game. He was hot. He was making great plays in the pick and roll, and you know, just fell for him for an unfortunate you know, situation in the game.
Coach, you mentioned Luke a little bit ago. Should we expect to see him tomorrow night?
Hopefully, he's going to do some more today. He was able to work out yesterday. Things were good. He's cleared to have a full practice today. So if all goes well, then we're hoping to have him available, which would be huge, you know, especially against Indiana with the size challenges they present with their bigs.
So with that, just with Luke being out, but also how trouble kind of going through the firsthand Big Ten games. What have you learned about the depth of this team generally?
Yeah, I think it's evolving. You know, I think a big part of it we've talked about is the growth of the freshmen. You know, I think, you know, having those 2 guys be in a position where they can play meaningful minutes and help the second half of the season is huge. And I've challenged them. I mean, they've played, 18, 19 games now. You know, you're no longer a freshman. You know, you gotta be ready to go. And obviously we've seen good minutes from Justin Mullins throughout the year. We've seen Blake Smith be able to come in. Blake Barkley's now gotten a chance. So, I mean, everyone's had their chances to come in and kind of help. You know, Brooks and Nick, I mean, those guys, they don't want to come off the floor. So, but it helps, you know, with the more guys you have confidence in, the more guys can do it. Maybe there'll be stretches where we can give those guys a little bit of rest throughout the game.